Hi, Dave Doherty here with another series from the Body Awareness Learning Through Golf. Today we're here to help identify a few important tips for those beginners or those of you wishing to learn to play this wonderful game of golf. So please get off your couch, get out in the garage, get somewhere indoors because like you see here, we are inside of a bank and yes, it's snowing outside here in Billings, Montana. So we can learn this wonderful game indoors without actually hitting golf balls. So if you are that beginner that we're talking about and we're going to identify you here today, we've got to have a few fundamentals in place that have to complement each other in order for us to balance ourselves very well, use our body efficiently, and organize ourselves so we can hit a golf ball with the least amount of resistance and effort. So let's start out today, and I've got two little props here. One is an actual golf club, which we won't be using today to hit balls with. However, we'll identify the properties and what they're useful for. And here's one of my little cheat sticks that I use at the golf course itself. As you can see, it's got a red and white, or if you're looking in black and white, they're identified on each side. We'll identify that as center. So let's identify three things you must learn first. That's how we hold this instrument, and obviously we're not going to hit balls with this today, but it'll teach us how to organize our bodies. So what we'd like to have you do, for all you right-handers, we're going to grab a hold of it with our left hand, and we're going to introduce that grip on here. As you'll see, I'm not going to put it straight up and down in the middle here. I'm going to off-center it a little bit to the right where I see a couple of knuckles. Second, I'm going to introduce my trail hand, and this will connect a nice perfect triangle when I organize them together. So these points between the shoulders and where the hands meet forms an organized triangle. And there's three triangles you can organize. One with a 10-finger grip, if that's comfortable for some of you, or you can interlock the pinky fingers and close the hands, or you can introduce this with a little pinky finger and overlap it. Now you bring that club down and handle down in front of you. These angles are all pretty much well matched up. These are the three positions you must learn first before you can ever swing a golf club. So once you get this grip in place, it's going to feel unnatural to some of you. That's okay. Golf is not natural. It's something we must learn, and something in balance that a lot of people have a hard time with. So we're going to show you some of those balance issues, how to overcome them, and how to learn how to use this body without hitting a golf ball. Yes, you can do this at home. So once again, get off that couch, grab a broomstick, grab this, grab a husband, a boyfriend's club, I don't care what it is, learn with me here today. So you left-handers, let's introduce you backwards here. We're going to put your right hand on here, a little off center from middle. We're going to introduce this trail hand once again, form that perfect triangle with either your interlocking 10-finger or overlapping, whatever is comfortable. So please experiment. One of those is going to work for you, and as you get more progressed in this, you'll understand how important a good grip is. It's one of the key fundamentals in this triangle. So speaking of a triangle, we need to do this, what I feel is around an unbalanced position. Most sports have us all standing with our feet wide, braced for something to happen. Well, in golf, unfortunately, there's a golf ball sitting down below us. We need to make an action that creates an action. So here's the quickest way I've discovered, will help all of you at home, especially those beginners, to learn how to use this body and organize it before you ever get to hit a golf ball, so at least you know how the body is performing. So here's what I'd like to have you do. Go ahead and get your perfect grip on here, and remember, everything's a little off center. Form that basic grip. Now start to get your feet a little bit about shoulder width apart. As you'll find out, this perfect triangle is organized right in the center of you. You can see that at home to the camera. That's dead center to my body. Now here's what must happen in golf. If I were to start this way and try to swing this perfect triangle away and make a body turn and try to bring it back to the center, if I start with equal platform, I'm in trouble. Because here's what will happen. This club has some weight to it. This stick doesn't, but it's heavy enough to get the point. I want to move the point of this stick first, and when that happens, the triangle stays connected, the body starts to rotate somewhere around itself. And if you don't, and there's a key word here, if you don't undo your balance originally to begin with, you're going to have a hard time bringing this thing back to your center gig. So here's what we advocate. Get this perfect triangle organized around an unbalanced position. You can choose one a little to the left over here, or you can choose a little one to the right over here. We're going to work around one of our hip flexors. Yes, the key word, hip flexors, instead of equal platform. If we start with equal platform, we have to undo something, turn, come back. Those are several moves, very detriment to being consistent. So if you look at this plan this way, get this perfectly organized triangle, start it right in front of it now, slide a little weight somewhere out of center. Make it subtle. So if I'm going to choose over here to my left, I organize that perfect triangle right in the middle. And most of you will point to your sternum, navel. That butt end of this club will point right here. So now that I'm off-centered, I have to make a motion or create something that creates a turn. So in my opinion, we take the lead end of this down here, which you call the bottom. It will be the club later when I introduce it. We need to get this moving first. That keeps the triangle organized. Now it's going to pull my body into a wonderful turn, and all of a sudden I'm going to bring it back right to its center. So if I rehearse that as a beginner, get out of center, organize this triangle and the butt end right to your navel, get this going in slow motion. You can start to see, oh, there's a nice stretch, and eventually I'll get into a nice follow through. I don't need a ball on the ground yet at this point. I got to learn how all these functions work. So it's a three-step process. Get the triangle organized. Pick a pivot point. I'm going to pick one left this time. Organize that handle right in the middle of my center. So when I start the process, you'll see a counterbalance take place. The hips are rotating very naturally as this space goes in this direction. Now we're learning how to turn, or what we call pivot, around a predetermined point. Now let's look at that for your left-handers. We'll organize this perfect triangle here. We'll slide our weight a little bit over on this hip. But we keep the triangle, the hands, right in our center. That's our start point, and that's where we'd like to come back to. So I take the end of this, let it work first. It turns my body for counterbalance. It should turn right to my center again, and we'll come back out into follow-through. Now these are slow motion moves. However, they're very important to learn, because there's some postures we have to pay attention to. I'm going to turn sideways and give you a different angle for you right-handers again. I'm going to turn it this way, and you'll see how important it is when we get this perfect triangle organized, that we're not rounded down with our elbows, we're not hunched over, we're standing in a very tall position. We stick this rear end back just enough to bounce the chin up. There, your arms hang very freely for natural balance. So once again, we want to move this thing. This is what it looks like from this angle. This starts to move. I start to turn, and if you'll notice, I didn't raise up, go down. I'm using the ground. My hips, all this for these nice stretching of muscles to bring me back. In essence, that's what's going to happen at a high rate of speed. This is just for slow motion. Now, with the broomstick, if you got one, you got an old club in the house, make sure there's no lamps around for any little kids. Let's start practicing swinging this club. Okay, now that you've learned how to hold this instrument, which was that practice stick I was using earlier, now we get to introduce the golf club, something that we need to learn how to use once again in order to get this ball up in the air off the ground. We've got to have all three of these fundamentals we discussed earlier in place. So let's review. We're going to introduce a golf ball to the equation here. However, we're not going to hit it. We're just going to identify how we can address this thing to make the club come back and compress it to get it off the ground. So once again, we've got to have this perfect triangle organized with one of the three grips you'd like. 10-finger, interlocking, or overlapping. That is your choice, and that's up to you. So let's get this perfect triangle organized right in front of you, like we practiced earlier with the stick or your broom handle. Now we got a golf club this time. We're going to come in and we're going to stick this club right behind the ball, and you will find out if I straddle this dead center of my body, this is not the best position, but it's one you can identify how to start with. Now remember, we're going to unbalance myself from this position. So if that club stays on the ground and never changes, I get this beautiful posture we talked about. So my hands and arms hang naturally beneath me. Remember, I need to unbalance myself. So leave this handle where you started. You move a little out of center. I've chosen the left side again for demonstrative purposes. So I slid over here, but I left this right in my center. I got my grip in place. So now, the minute I start to swing this club head, this is what it looks like in slow motion. It's moving. Now, it's turning me around my hip flexor over here, holding a beautiful position and balance to help me return it right back to this dead center, and then I will go into a full turn and release of not only the hands and arms, but the body as well. So the people with the highest center of gravity who work off of one of the pivot points will win this game easier than everybody else, because they'll learn true balance and how to apply power. So just food for thought. When you're playing something on the ground, and this is for all you beginners who we're introducing here, there's other situations when a driver comes up, but that's for future teachings, and we'll introduce that later in another setting. But this is for anything on the ground here. We've got to get our, what I call our center of gravity, somewhere over this golf ball. So if I get this perfect triangle organized here in front of me, get it over the ball. Now, the minute I commit my weight to one side or the other, if my sternum and center are somewhat over the center of this golf ball, I have the best opportunity to deliver the power needed to get this ball into the air with the least amount of effort. So please follow the three-step process. Have your grip in place for some of you. I'll introduce a little different scenario in another video that shows how we can do something more special, but for now, to get started, I'd rather see you do it this way. Get everything organized up front here, right in your center. Check your forearms. Yeah, they're the same height. They don't have a lot of disorganized. Just let those arms extend in front. Beautiful. Let them hang naturally. Rear end back, chin up, same time. That's a very powerful, easy position to rotate from. As you can see, I can turn pretty efficiently from right here. Step number 2, move the weight. Okay, you've done number 2 after number 1. Beautiful. Now, the only thing left to do in step 3 is make sure the club head moves first before the body does. This way we get a counterbalance involved to help us turn very easily. So it will look like this in slow motion. Club head first. It's starting to swing with the hands and arm. Now, the body starts to turn around this pivot point. Well, if I'm on this pivot point, another set of muscles is going to bring me right back to where I started from. That's unique power in this. Whatever muscles took it away, another set's going to bring it back. This we do know how our body and muscles are organized. So the best efficient way to do all this is to stay unbalanced. I'm going to show you something unbalanced from the right side. Step number 1, get this perfect triangle organized over the ball. I'm going to walk myself forward, and as you'll see, the ball is nowhere in my center anymore. It's back over here. But my sternum is still somewhat over the ball. Yes, that's my swing center. This is my pivot point. So I'm going to slide a little bit over on this hip, introduce this right to my center again, and now I'm working around this right hip flexor right here, brings me right back to the center again. Out we come for a perfect balance. And I think if you'll practice this in your living room without a golf ball, just the motion of getting the club head working before the body, I think you'll start to find your own balance. And then by the time you go outside with your PGA Professional friend, whoever it may be, I think you'll get the best benefit of learning how to hit this golf ball. So in the future, when you want to learn this game at another level and keep going, please visit your PGA Golf Professional at your local club, or visit again at the bodyawarenesslearningcenter.com. I'm Dave Doherty. I'll see you next time.